guitar in tune, which is futile, really. Not that it really matters if it's in tune or not, because whatever. Anyway, yesterday I didn't even see any of the comments. They were there, I just didn't see them. So it was a little bit strange. And it's still strange because there's nobody here today. So I'm just going to have to do my own thing, aren't I? Oh, it suddenly got really warm in here because I've been faffing about, running about, going, it's in a second. I'm wearing a pyjama top. Look, it's got little sort of print, animal print, but blue. I don't think you actually get any leopards or whatever it is. Puma. Don't know. Don't think you get them in blue. But this is still in blue. Anyway, is this in tune? Near enough. Probably not actually. But I did spend the last couple of minutes doing it, so this is all you're going to get. Because I spent a couple of minutes before that, hello one person, doing a survey online for the government about imperial measurements, which they are very determined to have. We're going to have imperial measurements even though we haven't had an empire for more than 50 years. Actually more than 70 years now. And this is completely out of tune, I've realised. Which is very much the thing to suit what the situation is. Because everybody in Britain is out of tune with the rest of the world. Doing the survey about imperial measurements, they were asking all sorts of stuff like, would it be feasible to have just imperial measurements on things? It's like, not really. You would need to have metric measurements because if anyone under, say, 55 or 60 has been using the metric for a very long time indeed, and that's what they teach you in schools, the metric. They teach you the imperial as well, just so that you've got a sense of timey-wimey old-time times. But I do remember when I was a small child, you could get sweets, bags of sweets in a quarter, and you can't get that now. You get an ounce of sweets if you're lucky. A quarter's about, I don't know, 26 ounces. What is an ounce? 26 ounces, that would make 25 grams is not quite an ounce. I'm not entirely sure. So you get less. If you get an ounce of sweets, that would be more than 25 grams. But it doesn't mean you get more sweets. It's just the measurement is a bit weird. I don't even know. 26 ounces in a 26 ounce is 26 grams an ounce. I don't know. I don't know what an ounce is. An ounce is a part of a pound. And how many ounces in a pound? Is there 12 or is there 14? I don't know, because in a stone there are 14 pounds, but in a pound there are only 12 ounces. Is that true? And if you go to America, the measurement is not the same, so ounces and kilograms and pounds will get really very, very confusing, because a kilogram is 1,000 grams and a centimetre is 10 millimetres, but an ounce is, I don't know, some 26-ish grams probably, and it's a bit sort of awkward and a bit really stupid really. So the government is determined to have imperial, that means empire measurements, like empire gowns that were in Jane Austen's time. They had very high waists and looked pretty stupid really. Some people were flattered by them. When you watch them, they tend to do different things in period gowns. By that I mean a period in history, obviously, had nothing else. And so the measurements, they're going to change the measurements. So I know you still get pints. You still get pints in a pub. So I'm not sure what the difference is. But now I think you're allowed to put a crown on a pint. But I've seen loads of pints that have a crown on them and say 1 pint. So I'm not sure what the measurable difference is, except it'll be very confusing. If you try to sell it to the EU, you have to have the metric, and if you try to sell it to America, you'll have to have, if it's a volume measurement, different sorts of ounces and measurements. Pints, a pint's not the same in America as it is in Britain. So what on earth is the point of it? understand a can of cola is in 500 millilitres at the moment, but if we have Imperial, how much is that going to be? How big is a can of cola going to be? And you can get a litre of drink, or 2 litres, but what will we have when it's Imperial only? Will we know how to drink anymore? We'll be very confused. We've had too much to drink because we don't know what's happening. It's like, how much is that? I don't know. Is it the same as 500 millilitres? I don't know. We're not allowed to put that on the packaging anymore. So I'm very much against that, to be honest. I want to know what I'm drinking and eating and how much it is. Otherwise, it's going to be so confusing. It's like, I mean, I'm not very young, but in my lifetime, we haven't really used ounces. I mean, in my cookery class, I think we did have the option to. You know, you'd go 5 ounces of this, which is the equivalent of the metric measurement. So we'd always have the metric measurement at the same time. Now, I know I'm 167 centimetres, which is nearly 5'6". So this is right. I prefer to have metric because 167 centimetres is nearly 5'6". But it actually counts as being 5'5" if you're going by Imperial. So I'm shorter. If it comes to Imperial, I'm shorter. So I'd rather be a nice 167 centimetres is not that tall, but it's taller than 5'5", but it's not as tall as 5'6". And I can't say that I'm 5'6" if I'm not. And that's very, very confusing for me. And I'd have a really, really horrible time of it. There's one time they still do measure like people in pounds and ounces and stones. They tend to. So, you know, you still know, but you have it on there. So in kilograms, I'm less than I am in pounds, obviously, because it's kilograms. But it's obviously, it sounds a lot more. So I weigh quite a lot. But it sounds less if you do it metric, and that's really important. And it really is. So I'm not sure what the point is, because all the scales, all the weighing scales, whether you buy them for cakes or you buy them for yourself, they come in both measurements, and I don't see any problem with that. And obviously, if somebody's coming on holiday and from the European Union or anywhere where they do metric, which is most of the world apart from America, they'll get very confused. And I think they'll still get confused if you are from America, because we've got stones, a stone on our weighing scales for people. And I know that Americans are like, what's a stone? We don't measure things in stones. They go, I'm 148 pounds or whatever. And you go, well, that's like 10 stone too, or something like that. Is that what it is? I can't even remember. I don't know. It's too confusing for me. Is anybody commenting? Have I seen anyone? No. Nobody's commenting. So I don't know whether they are or not, because I couldn't see them yesterday. If you are in the comments section, can you let me know? Just say hello to me. Hello. And if you've got any experience or opinions about metric, then, or imperial in fact, of that, or any sort of measurements, that'll be helpful. Anyway, that's really on my mind. Imperial. It's like Imperial Death March, you know? It's like Star Wars. We are the Imperial. We are. It's all a little bit unsavoury, really, isn't it? Imperial. The Commonwealth Games used to be called the Empire Games. Now, empires, they've got a little bit of a... I mean, the Roman Empire just descended into corruption. And all the empires that have ever existed, Napoleonic Emperor, he was an emperor, and that descended into chaos. Empires never end well, and we don't have one at the moment anyway, which is a good thing, because all that empires do is make everyone else do what they say, and that's not great, and I think that's the way we're going. But we're not allowed to say anything bad against the British Empire that doesn't exist, because if you say anything bad about them, then you'll get in trouble by law, and that's not great. And you'll be locked in a cupboard under the floor. but that's not very good, really. Got peppermint oil here. My parents are like, don't tell anybody about the flea infestation, but we had somebody in today to check on it, and they're like, yes, it's cat fleas. We shall sort that out next week. And I'm like, I've been telling you for weeks that it is fleas. I have seen the flea. The flea jumped past my finger, and it was very muscular, this flea. But they're like, well, how come we've got fleas? It's like, well, you did. And hopefully, and the man said that you shouldn't have put all the flea spray because it's dangerous for human health. But there's flea spray everywhere, so it's probably killed them for now. But best get rid of them forever. So we've had a person in to look at fleas and go, fleas. Fleas, fly fleas. But peppermint oil is apparently very good for getting rid of fleas. They do not like peppermint oil, and they do not like citronella and a few other things. And rats also do not like peppermint oil and citronella. Now that's interesting in terms of the fleas that jumped onto the rats, gave everyone the bubonic plague back in the day. And both the fleas and the rats hate peppermint. So all you've got to do to avoid bubonic plague is eat lots of peppermints and put peppermint oil everywhere and drink peppermint tea. Hurrah! And read about Peppermint Patty in the Peanuts cartoon. Why are they called Peanuts? There's Snoopy and there's Charlie Brown and there is that girl with the, what's her name? Don't know. And there is other people in Peanuts. Marcy, and Peppermint Patty. Why are they called peanuts though? Is it because they got heads shaped like peanuts? Or is it some other reason that I can't figure out? Is it because Snoopy's got a head shaped like a peanut? Or is it another reason? Is it? I don't know. Anyway, if anybody's a Peanuts fan, Peanuts. Peanuts, for clarification, that's what I'm talking about, nothing rude. I've re-uploaded my corn, as in sweet corn video, to TikTok. Now, they took the sound off it the last time, and I realised why. It's because the very first the very first sound of corn had been cut off in my very, very overzealous editing of it, and it sounded like I was going on, and they interpreted that as being something else that did not start with C. And anyway, at the moment there's a very big push for a song with the little kids singing about how amazing and delicious corn is, so maybe it's the right time now to put video about corn up that's got nothing to do with that video, but might still get into some people's For You page, and they'll go, why is this on my For You page? It's got nothing to do with things I'm interested in. And I'll go, oh well, never mind, this is the way that life is now. And so, sorry about that. Fishing when you were young, pounds and ounces and fishing. Fahrenheit, I don't know, we do Celsius here, also known as centigrade and Celsius. Fahrenheit is not something I really understand, but when I was young we did use that. So when I was very, very small, we had summers that were about 80 degrees or something, probably 79 generally, I think, which is, I don't know what that is in Celsius or centigrade if you want, but it's about, but I know that 41, which is what it got up to, is something like 100 and something, like very hot. Over 100 is probably hot, isn't it? It's 100, but we still do. It's the Celsius is better because you go 0 degrees is when things freeze. 0 degrees is when things freeze. And 100 degrees is when they boil if it's water. 100 degrees is when it boils. Now that is quite simple. 0 makes it freeze. And 100 makes it steamy. Now that's nice and simple. Why would you mess with perfection like that? Now it's all man-made or woman-made or non-binary person-made. I don't know who invented centigrade, which is also called Celsius, but the person that invented Fahrenheit was probably called Fahrenheit. And I assume the person that invented centigrade didn't know. Centigrade means 100. Grade is what it just means grade. But Celsius might have been his name. Yes, I'm thinking that Celsius must have been his name. But centigrade is more descriptive because it's what it really is. So I prefer the centigrade. Even though his name was probably Celsius. Something like Robert Celsius. Maybe Bartholomew Celsius. Maybe that wasn't his name at all. And I'm just getting the wrong end of the stick. That's probably what it is. But his name was Celsius. And Mr. Fahrenheit was probably called Fahrenheit. Was he a Mr.? And Kelvin was definitely called Kelvin, which is a good name for a 1980s hero of a TV show about a nerdy person. Kelvin was his name. Oh, Kelvin was his name. Oh, Kelvin and Fahrenheit and Celsius go on adventures. They go into adventures to the underworld. Celsius and Kelvin and Fahrenheit. So many adventures they have. So many adventures. Now I can tell that this guitar is definitely not in tune. It's a bit out, but I haven't got time to really. But I can talk to you while I'm. So Celsius, which is your favourite? Celsius, Fahrenheit? Oh, that's not right. It'll do. So, out of all of them, if you were going to have an adventure with them all, which one would you be your favourite? Celsius. Celsius is a nice name. He'd be the hero of the thing. And then Fahrenheit would be the villain. And Kelvin would be the sidekick. And that's how it's definitely going to be. Which one of those strings is out? Oh, that one. I've lost you. I've lost everyone. Well, I'm going to have to put that down because that's a complete mess. That's completely out. So the rest of the show is going to be without guitar, which sans guitar, which I'm sure you're going to be very, very happy about because that was a mess, really. So yeah, so that's really, who'd have thought I'd go down the measurement path with this whole thing. There's only one of you. Do you mind if I just try and carry on trying to tune this stupid wayward guitar? I need some sort of ear for music. Ah! This is completely out now. Oh no! Oh, blue! It's not going to go in. It's too late now. Oh no! What a failure! I'm going to have to do it all over again. I've got 2 shows left of these. I thought I only had 1. Can you see me this time? I can! I can see you this time. Hooray! I couldn't see you last time, but it's only showing one person up. Got a phone app to do. Get a phone app to do what? Get a phone app to do. We can't do that now. It's in the middle of a show. And it still wouldn't be able to tune my guitar. I'd still have to tune my guitar. I'd still have to fiddle about forevermore. That's nearly. Nearly. Oh, well, it's near enough. It would show you exactly what to do. But what's the fun in that being exactly right? I'd rather be a guitar out of tune. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Because that was more fun. If it's in tune, then you'd have to play it properly. And if I played it properly, that would be no fun, cause I cannot play the guitar, and it would be even more obvious I can't play the guitar, whereas now you just think it's the guitar out of tune. But if it was properly in tune, you go, what a noise, and then you go, they can't play the guitar, absolute rubbish, why am I listening to this? But that's what you're doing now. There's only one of you left. I'm assuming that's Holly. You are left. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I will see you next week when I am back in London. We should go on a trip down the river. Even though there isn't a river, there is a Thames there. Not near the river that I was talking about yesterday. The little brook. We could make a little boat and have a little sail. We could throw sticks, like poo sticks, in Winnie the Pooh. And I shall be Winnie the Pooh and you shall be Christopher Robin. Or am I Eeyore? I'm Eeyore. Or am I one of the others? I don't know, Piglet or something. Piglet, or maybe Tigger. It's not quite a tiger, that's more of a sort of panthery, blue, leopard thing. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing today. If you're in Britain and you think that imperial measurements are stupid, please fill in try not to be too sarcastic. I think I might have been a little bit sarcastic. Like there was a question that asked, would there ever be a situation in which only imperial measurements were justified? And I probably should have, oh, thank you. My goodness me. Wow, absolutely. I'm not sure about London prices, but my goodness me, that's double my income for the month. And I'm not even joking. So, thank you. That is very much appreciated. Yeah, so, what was I saying? Yes, double is that imperial measurements or in metric? I don't know. Yeah, so one of the things I said was the only justification, wow, for having it in imperial measurements only was if for some reason you had like an old timey-wimey sweet shop or a pretend old-fashioned pub, or if, I didn't say this, but I'm thinking now, if it's like a sort of Westworld situation where you've got Victorian robots and the Victorian robots are completely unaware that they're living in a place that's completely false, and the Victorian robots need to sell you a beer, and the Victorian robots need to sell you some sweets, and the Victorian robots just do what you want, and then they all rise up and kill everyone. And that's the only situation where imperial only measurements would be an advantage, because you could pay the Victorian robots in old timey-wimey pounds, and I'm not even sure what an old timey-wimey pound was worth, but it's something like 138 pennies, is that right? So 138 pennies in a timey-wimey pound. 100 and something, 30 something pennies? I don't know. There's 100 pennies in a pound. Why would you have more than 100 pennies in a pound? And a guinea's even worse. It's like 240 or something. 240 pennies in a guinea. And a guinea has got connotations because it was based on Guinea coast. So why is it suddenly all over the news? Because today, Ollie, is the last day for the consultation. If you want to fill in the system, fill in the questionnaire, then you've got until the end of the day to fill it in. It's on the government site. Tell the government it's not right. Why do we need to have imperial at all? But we don't have a choice because it's coming anyway. But we definitely need to have metric because otherwise there'll be everyone under 50 is going to be confused and go, how much is this worth? How much am I paying for? What on earth is going on? They're all leading questions. There is. Now, a troy ounce, exactly. A troy ounce is 32 ounces, 32 grams. And another sort of American ounce is not 32 grams. So that's another really confusing thing. So if you're buying gold and silver, you buy them in troy ounces, which is more than an ounce. And if it's more than an ounce, that means an ounce means nothing. An ounce is meaningless. Why would we have ounces? Except they rhyme with pounces and maybe even mounces. That's a mispronunciation of mouses, which should be mice anyway. And mice aren't that nice, especially if you've got allergies. So why would you want imperial measurements? It makes sense when you think about it like that. Why? They are leading questions, but you can still say, well, seeing as we have to have the imperial measurements, please keep the metric because I don't know what is going on and I'm confused enough as it is. I said the only reason that you might want to keep imperial measurements and no more, or even have them at all, is if some very old person that was born in the days before there was the metric system had been living abroad for a very long time and was so old that they couldn't really keep up with things. And then they came back to Britain and they remember when they were very young that they had imperial measurements, and then and only then would imperial measurements only be of use, because these people that are very old and have not lived in Britain for the last 60 odd years might get confused. But other than that, I think we need metric. I think you'll find we need metric, because otherwise I don't know what's going on. I really, really don't. And I want to be 167 centimetres. I'm going to shrink anyway as I get older, so let me have just that. I mean, eventually I'll only be 5'5", but at the moment I'm a little bit taller, and it very much affects your height to weight ratio, because if you're 5'5" and my weight, you're a little bit overweight. But if you're 167 centimetres and my height, you're a little bit less overweight. And so personally, that sounds better to me. Personally, I'd rather be more in tune with what I'm supposed to be, and then I don't have to eat any less. So I think you should let me have that, because I'd rather be 167 centimetres and not overweight and 5'5" and definitely overweight. So it makes sense just for me that you keep my self-esteem and I don't go, oh no, I need to lose weight, because if I'm 167 centimetres, I don't need to lose as much weight in order to fit the height to weight ratio. It makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. So there's no reason, unless you're a jingoistic old person that hasn't lived in Britain anyway, so you can't be that jingoistic because you haven't lived here for all that time and you're coming back. If you're a jingoistic, nationalistic British person that hasn't lived in Britain for the best part of half a century and are coming back for the last twilight years of your life and have also got some sort of problem that you can't remember things, like because you're very old and you might have other conditions, then and only then for equality and diversity issues, so that you can help those people remember things, like go back in the olden days. Do you remember when we had pounds and ounces? And they go, we've still got pounds and ounces, that's what we remember. What on earth is a metric? Then in that case, yeah, all right. Or as I said, in situation where we've got like Victorian, Sherlock Holmesy, Westworld, and then the robots need to be kept in check. And so they'd only be kept in check if you pay them £1 a year and a quarter of sweets and a pint of beer maybe a year. And they'll go, oh, a pint of beer for a beer, a pint of beer for a year. That would be more sensible, to have a pint of beer for a year. No, that wouldn't be sensible. But if you're a Victorian robot or a very old person that hasn't lived in Britain and can't remember things, then that is a perfect situation for you. Did imperial measurements? No, of course they can't work them out in their heads. They make no sense. If things are based on tens, we've got 10 fingers. If you base the whole situation, decimalisation and metric, sensible, old-timey-wimey currency, because I'm assuming they're going to go back to old pounds and pence as well at some point. So you got 100 and whatever pounds in a pound, pennies in a pound. I mean, it would logically make sense. No, you can't work it out. It makes no flipping sense. We've got tens and hundreds and thousands. Then you can work things out. And, a quarter of something, 25 if it's out of 100. 25 grams is a quarter of a kilogram. Otherwise, a litre. 500 litres is half a litre. 100 millilitres is 100 millilitres. But is there a name for 100 millilitres? Probably. A centilitre. Centilitres? No. I don't know. I don't actually know much about metric either. But I definitely know more about metric than I do about imperial measurements. And that's all I've got to say about that. So, I'm back tomorrow, unexpectedly, with the evening show only. I do not have one in the daytime. And then I've got the very last of the chat shows with the guests. I've only got one guest. There's possibly two others, but I've got one that I'm going to interview in advance. And then this show on Sunday, this show 7 o'clock on Saturday, BST, British Summertime. That's GMT +1. Or on Sunday, it's still going to be at 8. So don't tune in until 8 p.m, which is my normal Sunday time. Or I might do more than that, I don't know. Anyway, the point is, don't go for the imperial measurements. The Empire is evil. Yes, if you're going down the Star Wars or any other route, really, Empire route. Empire is not good. Anyway, I will see you very soon. Thank you so very much for my wonderful tip. I'm going to just look at that super chat. Is that super chat that you use there? Super chat. Yes. So Fox7466. I'm so grateful for that. You have literally not even doubled. It's like, whoa, money. I can buy something to eat next week. Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.